Paracas History Museum in Paracas, Peru. And some of you have asked about the DNA results and the DNA testing that we've done, and so I'm going to give you some of the details. So as we look at this one, this baby here that died at 18 to 22 months, all Native American DNA, people who are 100% Native American, should have maternal haplogroups of A, B, C, or D. However, when we did DNA testing of this one on the right, the results turned out to be U2E1, which is most commonly found in the Black Sea area of, or Crimea area of the Black Sea. And then this one, maternal DNA, U2E, which again is most commonly found in the Black Sea area, more specifically Crimea. And then this one in the middle, these three were found in the same tomb. This one turned out results from two labs, H1 and H. Again, most commonly found in the Black Sea area, or generally Eurasia. And then this one here, you see the natural red hair. It's thinner than Native American hair and it's wavy, so those are characteristics that are not typically Native American. The haplogroup on the maternal side, H2A, which again is Eurasian. So this is the mystery of the elongated skulls of Paracas in Peru that basically no academics are studying. I seem to be the only one, and you, the general public, who are interested in the study of these ancient people who lived between 3,000 and 2,000 years ago. What we now know is that they, A, were not originally of Native American ancestry, but are closely tied with the other largest elongated skulls in the world, which are found in the Crimea area and the Black Sea. And also, they existed between 3,000 and 2,000 years ago. They were likely wiped out by the so-called Nazca culture. And other anomalies are like this. You see where this plastic bottle top is entering the skull? That's called the foramen magnum. That's where your spinal column enters your skull, and it's a full 1 inch back from where it should be. Ours is more at the balance point here. This is 1 inch back, and that by itself tells you that this is not a Homo sapiens sapiens, more likely that the original Paracas were Homo sapiens Paracas, so a subspecies of human being. And here we have an example of where brain surgery was performed, here, and you see that the skull has healed. So 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, these people on the coast of Peru were performing brain surgery, and recovery of months or years was 50% or better. We also find other shapes here, like this shape, which is more like some would say a Akhenaten of ancient Egypt shape, more of a swept back. And then we have the classic cone head, like this one here. So what we can now tell is that originally the Paracas people were born with elongated heads, such as these examples here, and that over the course of time, they bred with normal Homo sapiens sapiens, and that resulted in what is called cranial deformation, which is what we're going to see right here. So you see the flattening of the back of the skull. The volume is actually quite high on this one, but the back of the skull has been flattened and the forehead has been flattened, so that shows cranial deformation. And then we're going to see over here, this is the tail end of the Paracas culture. Again, You see cranial deformation. You see flattening of the back of the skull, flattening of the forehead, and also the cranial volume is about the same as a normal human being, whereas in the original Paracas, the volume appears to be greater, in some cases 25 to 30%. And let's compare these. Again, let's compare these elongated skulls that you're looking at here with a normal-looking human being. Elongated skull. And then here, this is a farmer from the Inca time period. So you can see this is what a normal Homo sapiens sapiens of the Inca people looked like. And contrast that to what we're looking at here right just below. And as well, this is an example, or at least let's do this comparison. So these are the suture lines. You see this one coming across this way, this one coming, the sagittal suture coming back this way. So that is normal in Homo sapiens sapiens. But when we look at this one, okay, here you see the suture coming across this way, and actually no suture whatsoever coming back that way. So the original Paracas only had one suture, this one, like that. That again is not normal in a human being. And this is the classic Paracas shape. You see the protrusion on the forehead here. Again, only one suture. And then coming down, a very large mandible or lower jaw. And people might say, well, that's actually quite a small skull. Well, it's because this person, probably a female, died at between 8 and 10 years old. We can tell that by the teeth. And then this one, this again is a classic Paracas elongated skull. Notice the shape. And this is where we see the red hair. So the hair is 30% thinner than Native American hair. It's naturally a dark red. When this person was alive, they had red hair. It's not that the hair oxidized or changed after death. This is what they looked like. That's another genetic anomaly, to have red hair. It's also wavy hair. It's not straight. And again, brain surgery. How would an isolated population on the coast of Peru 2,000 to 3,000 years ago know how to perform brain surgery and have a success rate of at least 50%, if not higher? These are the obsidian tools that likely were used, volcanic glass, in order to cut the skin and also cut into the skull itself to remove a small section for brain surgery. And then a thin piece of silver or gold was put on top in order to assist in the healing. Silver is antibacterial and gold does not react to, the body does not react to it. We also have evidence in this textile of knowledge of being able to tie-dye 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. So once again, the fascinating elongated skulls of Paracas, Peru. An individual who most likely was born with this shaped skull. An example of one with cranial deformation. Examples of brain surgery. The swept back look, similar to possibly what Akhenaten is portrayed as looking like. The classic cone head. And in terms of the famous Nazca lines, this is a 2,000 to 3,000 year old Paracas textile. And you can see this design is very similar to what is called the whale at Nazca. So what we know is that from 500 BC to about maybe 100 AD, the Paracas were the makers of the geoglyphs and the line systems in the Nazca area. And then later, the Nazca people themselves moved in and they created some of the more famous ones. In the area of Palpa, which is in between Paracas and Nazca, there are 1,600 geoglyphs, and in the Nazca area there are about 30. Famous ones, the ones you know of. Also, finally, let's look at the blood types. So, a report that was sent to me was published in the 1970s and then was removed from the academic record. Showed some interesting characteristics of the blood of the Paracas people. And that is that all Native American people, especially in South America, 100% Native people, would have 100% blood type O. But in the 14 samples that were studied of the ancient Paracas, again, this was a published report that was then, they tried to extinguish it, but the results were sent to me. So, of the 14 samples of the Paracas, blood type O, 43%. Blood type A, 28.5%. Blood type B, 7.1%. Blood type AB, 21.4%. So that by itself tells you that these ancient Paracas people were much more genetically and ethnically complicated than simply being native people of the coast of Peru who supposedly bound their children's heads just because it was a cultural practice. It originated that they were born with elongated heads. Their average height was between 5'10" and 6'2". The foramen magnum, which is where your spinal column enters your skull, is a full inch or 2.5 centimeters back from where it should be. And in this collection in the Paracas Museum, we have 45 elongated skulls. Here's another one. You can see this one that again only has one suture coming across this way, no suture going to the back, which it should have. Because any standard human being, as I said, has two sutures. Here you can see in this one, you have the suture coming across the front here, like that, and then the one heading backwards. And so you also see that it's partially fused, and that happens over the course of time. Calcification begins to make the sutures close, but again, contrast that with this one, where there is only one suture coming across this way. No evidence whatsoever that there was ever a suture coming back that way. And then this one again is an anomaly because here are the two sutures, the one coming back this way, the one coming across this way, but this one has an extra suture coming down the front of the forehead, which again is not normal. So this is another genetic anomaly, another genetic aberration amongst the ancient Paracas. And for some people, the most intriguing skull is not this one. This is just a normal baby human that died prior to the fontanelle, which is at the forehead here, closing. So this individual was between 1 year and possibly 15 months old when he or she died. But compare that with this one. This is very similar to what's called the Star Child skull, and many of us believe that this is not a human being whatsoever. There's no evidence that it ever had teeth. Unfortunately, the lower jaw is missing. The sinuses are very strange looking as well. So that's why Peru is such a fascinating country to live in, because there are so many different anomalies that are around that you can observe and study. So from the Paracas Museum in Paracas, Peru, thank you so much for watching. And this one is interesting too, because you can see, again, died at 18 months. Look at the size of the skull, and notice the hair color. It's strawberry blonde. It's not even red, it's strawberry blonde. So again, that's another genetic anomaly. So thank you so much for being a subscriber to my YouTube channel. I very much enjoy doing these little live broadcasts like this. So please share this with your friends who are interested in finding out about the DNA results. We also have two skulls, or actually many samples from two skulls that were perfectly preserved that are in laboratories in the United States and Canada right now. They supposedly have been able to remove the entire genome from both of these skulls, and so that will give us not only the mitochondrial, which is the mother's DNA, but also the nuclear, which is the father's DNA. And so this is being done through a foundation in the United States, and results will probably be available at Contact in the Desert with Asim Harriman and myself in June in Wells, California. And if you want to learn more about meeting me in person at Contact in the Desert, please go to my website, hiddeninca.tours.com, or go to www.contactinthedesert.com. So from Paracas in Peru, this is Brian Forrester saying thank you for watching.